Now that we have one guy named Nick Saban out of there, it certainly seems like Georgia is the preeminent program in the nation. Let's get the what the H, and that's brought to you by our friends at Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Haun.
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
So it's amazing how things change so quickly. Nick Saban was there to challenge Kirby Smart for preeminence, not only in the SEC, but in college football in general. So what the H is going on in the SEC? Is there any team, John, that can challenge Georgia for top team in the SEC? Brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Haun. Enjoy life better when you see better. Local vision service for LASIK, cataract surgery, and regular eye examination. What do you got there, John?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible to challenge them, but I still like the Bulldogs to win it all. I think they'll be number one preseason nationally in the polls and certainly number one in the SEC. Even though Alabama beat Georgia this year, give Alabama all the credit for that. Still thought Georgia was the best team. And I think if you go back and if you started the playoffs tomorrow and Georgia was in it, I'd probably pick Georgia to win it. I just thought it was the best team. I think it will be the best team again next season. I just think Kirby Smart is just he's got it rolling and he's succeeded in a lot of ways. I was looking at Georgia's recruiting class for 2024, number one ranked by 24/7 Sports Composite. Everybody talks about the great in-state recruiting base that Georgia has, which it does. But if it's, I think, four or five, maybe five-star defensive players that have committed to Georgia or signed, only one was from the state of Georgia. What Kirby's done is he's done the same thing. He's done the same thing that Nick Saban did. Nick Saban relied heavily on that Alabama in-state recruiting base, but he also recruited nationally. So that way, it doesn't matter if you have even a slight down year in your state. It doesn't matter. Kirby and NIL helps this too. I just don't think geography means as much as it once did, but I just think there's no good reason not to go and play for Kirby Smart, just as there was no good reason not to play for Nick Saban. You may prefer other teams, but there's nothing glaring wrong with those programs. And they, most importantly, for high-profile players, Kirby's done what Nick did. He's put players in the NFL at every position, not just one or two or three positions, all across the board. So to me, Georgia's still, even in a tougher league and with Texas coming in, I still think Georgia's above everybody.
Caleb, I'm going to ask you, give me two or three teams that could supplant Georgia this year.
So there are, this year. I thought you meant like over a long-term 10-year period.
I want to talk this year, and then maybe we'll get into that. But to me, there are two teams I could see Tennessee being incredible offensively, with Nico being better than Hendon Hooker. I could see that. I could also see, and I think this will happen sometime in the near future, Ole Miss has a group of incoming transfers that gel together, which is probably a 1-in-3 shot year to year. And I think that Ole Miss could upend at some point Georgia in the SEC championship game. Now you get into Texas and other schools, but those would be my two teams because I would like Lane Kiffin against Kirby Smart in an SEC championship game. So what about you? What are some teams, Caleb, that you think could upend Georgia this year?
I think, and it's the one I stuck with last year, and y'all could call me crazy, but I'm sticking on the LSU train. And I largely think that because LSU, no matter who's the coach or whatever era, they're never a program that's not there yet. The talent is always coming in and out. And if for people who cover recruiting, Louisiana kids are consistently underrated. So if LSU has like the number 10 recruiting class, it should really be the number 5 ranked recruiting class, quite honestly. And it should always be a few spots higher. So I think they're still loaded at talent. I think if they find a middle linebacker, I think if Garrett Nussmeier is as good as John initially thought he was, and if they find a middle linebacker, which they could not find for the life of them last year, you got a national title contending team at that point at LSU.
John, what are the schools? Give me 2 or 3 that could upend Georgia this year, which would be a pretty massive upset.
Well, Texas, of course, comes to mind because it just made the college football playoff and went right down to the final second against Washington. Really, this season really changed my opinion on Steve Sarkisian.
Me too.
I wasn't that high on him, but he got it done. Credit to him. But I'm kind of with you on this. I really like Ole Miss bringing in all these transfers. Lane Kiffin didn't just do it this year. He's been doing it his whole time there. So this has become routine. Here come a bunch of transfers. But this time he's raised the bar. He's brought in guys that are really good. I mean, he gets 2 offensive linemen from Washington. I didn't see that one coming. He's become a haven for transfers, and we know Lane Kiffin can really coach offense, and we know he has a pretty good quarterback. Might not be as good as Carson Beck or Nico, but he has a good quarterback and offensive talent around him, and he loses his star running back, maybe the best running back in college football, Quinshon Judkins, and he nonetheless he goes and gets LSU's running back, Nolan Diggs, who originally transferred from Notre Dame. I mean, I'm just really impressed with what he's done in the portal, and I think Ole Miss and Georgia play this regular season, I believe, and I mean, I think Ole Miss could win that game.
Okay, John, I know you got to get out of here, but give me the 3 programs that could in 5 years or 3 years be the preeminent program in the SEC, not named Georgia. Who can stop the Bulldog train that seems to be rolling on right now?
Well, I think Caleb's right about LSU. There's always tremendous potential there, and I look at Brian Kelly's track record of winning everywhere. He's going to amass a lot of talent. You look what he's already doing in the 2025 recruiting class. LSU is really well heeled in NIL money. So I think LSU could be that team. I mean, that's not shocking news. It had one of the best teams ever under Ed Orgeron, of all people, a few years back. So, yeah, LSU could be that team. I think you can't discount Alabama. I think Kalen DeBoer is a really good coach. So I'm not writing off Alabama. So when I look at 3 schools, I say those, I think Texas, LSU, and Alabama. And then I'm really curious where Tennessee's headed. I think it's got a lot of NIL money. It's got momentum. It's got a great offensive coach. So there's more than 2 or 3. I mean, there's some other team. I never count out Oklahoma. Not sure it has the right coach now, but I never count out Oklahoma when you're talking way down the road who could be the preeminent team.
I know you got to go. In the next 5 years, we will see how many different SEC champions.
In the next what?
5 years, how many different SEC champions will we see?
I would say 3.
I was going to go 3 as well. John, get out of here. I certainly appreciate you. Have a blessed day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
John Adams.
Have a good one, John.
What would you, Caleb, what would you say?
So
I think there'll be 3 as well. I could see a Texas. Georgia. Let's log them in there. And then I think there's another team to be named later. And of that group, it's probably Tennessee. Ole Miss is in kind of my first tier is Georgia, second tier is Texas, or you could lump them together. My next dip down is Tennessee, Ole Miss. Those programs that seem to be on the precipice but aren't quite there yet. How about you?
I don't think Ole Miss, and I think you would even agree with me on this, Dave. I don't think Ole Miss has long-term staying power. They can go buy a title through the transfer portal 1 year, but they can't year in and year out be this program.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. I'm going to take them out of there for long term. That's a great point. And also, Lane Kiffin's going to be the next head coach at Florida. You heard it here first.
And by the way, so it's LSU because, as I said, it's always LSU. And as I did my history video on Nick Saban, I cannot understand how Jerry DiNardo and Curly Hallman couldn't win there. Like, how bad of a coach must you be, Dave, to like not be able to win at LSU? I mean,
Jerry was bad. Jerry was really, really bad. Hey,
yeah. So, wait. I got to get my teams done.
You take your time.
But it's LSU. But the other one, guys, don't sleep on Florida. And I know they are a laughing stock now.
Wait, hold on, coach.
Well, that's the point, Dave, with another coach. They're a laughing stock right now with Billy Napier, but here's the point. Florida is about to be to the state of Florida what LSU was to Louisiana, and there's a lot more talent in the state of Florida. Historically, since you've been following college football, I keep insisting this. Florida State, and Miami relatively competed for Florida talent evenly, right?
Yes.
There's no competition now. It's Florida, and then the other schools I just named are like Georgia Tech to Georgia, because they will be stuck in the ACC.
Wait, Florida State almost made the college football playoff.
It was a fluke. In recruiting, it's going to be a fluke. Florida State is stuck in the ACC. Where would you go if you're a high-profile recruit in Florida? Florida State or Florida?
I don't know that, and I was thinking you might go in that direction. I don't know that prospects see the long term of which conference you're in. I could be wrong. I think they want to be in the SEC, but I don't think they dread going to another conference.